Happy New Year! New Year! Same great Flame Central podcast powered by Alcova Mortgage. I think I said that last year.
Hey,
my
you
gosh.
know what? New Year, same issues.
Same ring on Joe's phone.
Yeah.
We're silent now. You know what, Emily,
Hey, we're ringing in the new year.
I like that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Emily, I just want to let you know my New Year's resolution. I don't know how you feel.
Oh, I just wrote that down. What are your New Year's resolutions?
I'm going to be a little bit nicer to you this year. Okay.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, fat chance.
Okay. My New Year's resolution is, well, it's not like the whole year, but I'm trying to run a mile a day for the month of January. I know that has nothing.
She's just throwing that in your face is what she's doing.
You know,
I actually am. I was skating all down the sidewalk because I went to the gym yesterday. It was closed.
Yeah.
And our little member 24-hour pass wasn't working. So I'm like, I guess I have to run a mile in this awful weather.
Did it.
And I did.
Did you see it around her living room? It was 345 laps. Yeah.
More injuries to talk about with Joe Yock.
Yeah.
More excuses
Just
of
when
why.
I was getting into my mile training.
Yeah.
Just when he set to start his training.
Just when I said to start my training,
another
the new year, I
injury
get another
comes up.
injury.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Bahamas Bowl,
Absolutely.
Liberty football, and then basketball is in full swing. Conference play has started. It's crazy that we haven't had a podcast since December 16th. So we have.
Give the people a little break.
I
hope they
know.
still
I'm
remember
sure
us,
they
yeah.
need a break from us every once in a while.
fair. Yeah.
So, like I said, we have a lot to cover. Let's start with the Bahamas Bowl. Yacht Talk was
There. You were there.
there
Oh, yeah.
on site.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. No, it was cool. It was really, Lannis is beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? The place is unbelievable. I'm like, okay. I said, get there, come down. I'm like, all right.
Doug is playing. Is this Bahamian music?
there's mine.
Doug is trying to chime in. Yeah.
One love. I think that's Jamaica.
Yeah, I think it is.
Let's
Geography isn't
together
Doug's strong
and
suit.
see
Yeah.
how-
Yeah.
Love it.
You know, in those shows where they have the producer in the background that starts getting more and more involved every year.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's
this is
Doug.
Doug's year.
Doug.
Doug, we might have to.
Called the year of the Dougie.
Yeah.
Remember, what am I thinking of? College Game Day, where they have what's his name off
the
to the
bear.
side.
They used to have the bear.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden he's a part of the show.
Yeah, now he's part of the show. So maybe that's what we
Doug's
need to
trying
do
to
for
work
Doug.
himself. We have Doug's
Yeah.
picks of the week.
He's
Doug's
saying
Doug's
no.
locks
I
of the
love
week.
that. Locks
Yeah,
of the week.
that'd be good.
Oh God.
So I go to the Bahamas, right? And I get there, I'm like, wow, this place is really nice. I'm like, I'm gonna walk down the beach. So I walk down the beach and it's been a long flight and everything. I check it out. I'm like, oh, the guy that sent you the video, the guy selling wooden
You sent us
whistles.
videos, yeah.
wooden whistle guy.
The
Right?
wooden
SpongeBob SquarePants. He's walking around the beach playing SpongeBob SquarePants.
We have 4 of those at our house.
And so then I was going to stand in line, like, hey, something to eat. So I get in line to get something to eat. And who's right behind me? Willie Corn.
Oh.
And I'm going to say this, a shirtless Willie Corn with sand all over.
Okay.
I said, hey, Willie, what's going on?
I bet he was hitting the
The
beach.
good doctor.
Yeah,
The
good
beach
Dr.
volleyball
Corn.
courts,
No.
probably.
He had all the kids down at the beach there, and his in-laws were there, and they were playing around. And then his wife Charlotte came up. We talked to Charlotte for a little bit, and then saw the kids. Went down and visited the kids down there, and it was great. Then I come back through. There's Newland Isaac, and the whole crew went out to dinner with Bill Durkin.
Oh, I bet that was
Bill
a good
and his
time.
son Ryan, and Ryan goes to Notre Dame currently, and so we watched the ball game a little bit. Got to hang out with all his Colton Corn and Bobby Ruff and the whole crew, and it was Atlanta's an awesome place, like I said, but man, it was a great time. We had a good time.
Good.
On the other hand, the football game
Not as great.
was not as great.
Not as great. It was a tough sledding.
It was a little tough sled.
We're not going to overreact because that's not what that's my real New Year's resolution is not getting emotional and overreacting.
Okay.
Let me tell you a couple stories before we get into the actual game itself. Let me give you a couple stories. Go ahead. What do you need, Matt?
Okay, you want to do that?
Let me give you a couple
Okay.
good stories.
All
I
right,
got a couple
get
good
us,
stories.
yeah.
We are completely off.
No,
You
no,
think
no.
Go
so?
into the game first and then go into the stories? It's kind
Whatever you wanna
of
do.
the old
It's
compliment
whatever our
sandwich kind of
producer-
deal.
Yeah,
I
let's
know.
go.
I am
You
completely.
good, you deal with it, and then some more good
Yeah,
at the
that's
end.
fair. Whatever you want to do. Go.
Okay.
It's our producer. Whatever our producer
Well,
wants. Our producer's yawning. Boy, rough day.
I just want to talk a little bit about the game in terms of, well, first of all, the defense gave, the offense the opportunity to stay in the game,
sure,
right?
defense, yeah.
They battled. What was it? 3 straight field goals. What are your concerns that you take away from this game, or do you not really read too much into this game just because this isn't going to be Liberty next season.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't read into it too much, just from the aspect of, I thought the defense played really well, and guess what? They had the most complement of their guys, right? And so they felt good going into the game. I mean, offensively, there's nothing you can really take away from it. I mean, you're playing with a makeshift offensive line. Like, if you're going to have a new quarterback, you better have a really good offensive line in order to protect him, right? And you got to be able to run the football. When you watch Buffalo on film, they were good up front, and they had two absolute stud linebackers. Yeah. One guy Dolak was a first-team consensus All-American. Guess what? He's a first-team consensus All-American. And guess what?
Yeah.
He was playing in the game. Yeah. It's an amazing thing. And then they had Mad Dog Murdoch on the other side beside him, and those two guys were very good. And so what they did is they knew where the weakness was in Liberty offensively, and they were blitzing, a lot of blitz into safety into the strong side, making Liberty run weak, and then putting Dolak to that side so they run away from it. If you run into the blitz, you're dead. If you run away from the blitz, Dolak was just killing him to the other side. So they popped a couple runs. Burger Cup popped a long run. As Billy Lucas popped a long run. But the crazy thing about it was, as bad as it went, after Billy Lucas' long run, fumble in the red zone. Yeah. After Berger's long run, had a first down at the 3-yard line, but he fumbled into the end zone. And so it was 16-0 at that point. Like you have a few things go your way. You have a chance. You missed a field goal. You have a chance to be in the game, right? And so, but offensively, it was just, with what happened, it was, the offense was put in a very unfair position in order to be successful.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And that kind of leads to the bigger question, which we may get into, which is kind of like, what do you do with bowl games?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you look around the country, and you and I talked a little bit about it, like, it's not, for some programs, Buffalo, prime example, everybody's all in, right? Bowl game matters. Like, it's a big deal. You call the North Carolina-UConn game. For UConn, that was a big deal, right? And then you get a lot of programs that we see across the country where it's like, hey, we're on a quarterback that's never played all year. We're just plugging all these gaps because we have all these departures. Like, literally, as you said, you can take nothing from this game. Marshall had to bail out of their game completely. Like, it's just like, okay, so obviously this game really doesn't mean anything to some people. It's hard to gauge. Like, it's just hard to gauge.
It's hard for the coaches to put together, and for the players.
All games aren't created equal, but also all just, even in the same game, it's not equal in terms of just like, what does this mean? Right. Like, what can you take from it? Is it a big deal? Is it not? Is it just a vacation and a reward for the guys that decide to stick around? And you just have to end up playing a game while you're there. Like, it's hard to gauge what bowl games mean today in college football, because you may not have half your team.
You know, and the thing is that, which is really bothersome, is that you go through an entire season with your guys, right? And you win 8 games, and you have the opportunity to go to a bowl game. Like, you should represent well within that bowl game, in my opinion. And I think it's completely unfair to the university give me reasons. Give me legitimate reasons for opting out of a bowl game. What are they? They are like, hey, I have the opportunity to be a high draft choice. Okay, the opportunity to make a lot of money. That's what the draft stock is telling me. Okay, and I can, and therefore I don't want to risk myself getting hurt.
Which, by the way, those are guys who have already established themselves there.
Correct.
Like, not guys that could be a 6th-round pick and maybe a bowl game allows them to play their way up even a little bit more. Those are the guys that, no matter what happens, I'm a 1st, 2nd-round guy, and so I can only hurt myself by playing in this game.
That's right. And so you've got that number one, right? Number 2 is, hey, I can enter the transfer portal, and here's what X team can pay me that I'm currently on, but I know that I've got X, Y, and Z out here with these other teams that can pay me a significant amount of money, and that money is like, it's right there waiting for me. Do I want to risk getting hurt when I know I can make this, right? So there's reason number 2, right? What bothers me more than anything, give me another reason outside of that, okay? So you have a university, You have whatever university it is. You have a university that says to you, hey, we're going to pay for your school. We're going to give you these awesome facilities. We're going to coach you. We're going to talk about brotherhood. We're going to talk about family. We're going to talk about all these things that are just, who we are and what our bond is. And they pour into the coach that pours into you, the teammates, where everybody's pouring into you, right? And then you decide, and you don't fit in either one of those categories.
Right.
I'm not a high draft choice. I can't transfer out of here and go make a bunch of money somewhere else. And then I'm going to go to the university that has given me so much, right? An opportunity, everything, right? I'm going to go out and I'm going to say, hey guys, sorry, I'm bailing on you right now.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it one bit. I think it's completely unfair to your teammates. It's completely unfair to your coaching staff. Mm-hmm. It's completely unfair to your university. And they need to do something. I don't know what to do about it. Like, you get into the whole contract thing. That's the next thing that's coming through this NIL stuff. But it is completely unfair to a lot of people involved because of what? Because what? So you can put a post out there that says, oh, I'm opting out of the bowl game to prepare for my NFL draft. Guess what? I hate to break the news to you. There's not going to be an NFL draft for you. You need to prepare for the work world. Yeah. That's what you're preparing for. And so I think it's so unfair to the universities that a lot of kids have good reason to do it, and a lot don't. Most of them don't. Yeah. And for that's all I got to say about that.
No. Woo! I mean, listen, and I don't disagree with anything you said.
I don't either.
I think there's a lot of people, and this is just talking on the broad scope of things, but they get bad advice and that think, oh yeah, I'm going to the league, and so I'm gonna sit this one out. And you know what? I bet if you went back to them 5-10 years down the road, they would say, you know what? I missed a chance to play my last collegiate game with my guys in a bowl game, and that NFL career it wasn't there. And most people would have probably told them that. There were truth tellers, but there's always some people in their ears that feed them something else and cause them to do that. But I bet you go back years from now, there's going to be a lot of guys that regret not playing in that final game with their guys.
It's so I don't know if people know this or not, but I was going into my 5th year at UNC. I played 4 years, started for 3, was going into my 5th year. I had the opportunity to come back, and I was drafted Hamilton's first pick in the CFL. So they came to me and said, hey, do you want to come out early and not do your 5th year, so it was a redshirt year, or go back to North Carolina? Long story short, I decided to come out and go play in Hamilton. I look back at it, and I honestly regret that decision. The main thing I regret that decision is because I had the opportunity to be one of the captains of the team at North Carolina. And that would have been, when I look back on my career, I really look back and go, man, I really wish I would have done it that way instead. And so I think you're exactly right, is that, for whatever reason is, like, a lot of these guys will never play football again, right? And that's exactly what you're saying. It's like there is no point, whoever's in their ear telling that they need to opt out to go to the NFL, like, a lot of these guys, like, I hate to break the news to you, and, like, let's be frank here. The guys that are sending these posts out from Liberty and from other schools, right? When you go look at, let's get into reality, go look at your NFL draft status right now. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay? So a lot of you guys who think you're getting drafted in the NFL, you're not. Okay? And on top of that, you'll be lucky to get an opportunity to get in a camp in the CFL or the XFL, right? So whatever, like, getting paid to play football, because there's a lot of football out there, is no easy task, whatever league it is. And people have absolutely no clue what it takes to make an NFL roster. And so, and then say, okay, well, I have the opportunity to, like, a lot of these guys, you look back on and go, like, man, that guy didn't even say about his NFL draft, didn't even get into a CFL camp, right? And so it's very frustrating, and I think it's very unfair to the university.
Yeah.
A percentage of 1.6% of all NCAA football players ever make it to the NFL. And that's not even just saying, like, a lengthy career. That's just saying make it to the NFL. So it's hard. And you're right, Matt. Like everybody is like in their ear and telling them, and they have all these high hopes, which is great. There are those great, stories. But those are very few and far between.
It goes back to what you said. Is like, dude, if you can only improve your status by here. I know people who scout in the NFL for years and years and years. You know what the number one? When they come to me and ask me about a player, the first question that how much does he love football? Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you're a fringe guy, right, what is going to help you get onto a roster? Your love of the game. Like, this guy just loves football. He may not be as talented as everybody else, but man, this guy he loves to play the game. What message do you send the NFL if you're a fringe guy and you opt out of a bowl game?
But for the transfers, I'm wondering if the team, even if they're not making, like your second exception was like, you're making a lot more money. I'm wondering if they're coaches of the school that they're transferring to, which Nate Hampton is transferring, and he still played in that game, so that'll show you a lot about him. And I'm not even just talking specifically about Liberty players, but opting out because maybe the teams that they're transferring to, those coaches wouldn't want them to play, risk of injury. I'm not sure, but it is.
What about your loyalty to the? What about your loyalty to the university? That doesn't
exist anymore, Joe Young. It doesn't exist. Loyalty in college athletics does not exist anymore.
I'm not making the point of the loyalty from the aspect like loyalty from you have to stay at the school. Right? I'm not saying that. Yeah. I'm not saying that. Like, if you have the opportunity to play whatever, I'm not saying like, boy, this is the school. I'm saying the simple thing is like, a lot of people put a lot of time, effort, and energy into you to get you to this point, right? Mm-hmm. And you should at minimum owe it to your school to say, okay, I'll play in the bowl game. I may not, after that, I'm going to enter in the transfer portal. I may be in the transfer portal. I'm still going to finish out what I started for my team and for the university. Yeah. And I think anything outside of that is completely unfair.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's a different era. And I don't like it.
We're all old, so it is difficult for us to transition.
And I get the whole, coaches can leave, and so players should have freedom to move as well. But
coaches have contracts.
Right, and coaches have contracts. And I've said before, my big thing would just be that I think would help simplify this a lot would be you get one free transfer where you can play right away. Mm-hmm. After that, it's the old rule. You got to sit for a year. And I think that would cause a lot of people to really think hard. You wouldn't have every year where all of a sudden it's become the norm of season ends, everybody in. It's almost like I'm just going to go in just to start hearing what's out there. Even if I'm in a great spot, just to see what's out there. And it's free agency every year. That would clean up a lot of that because you'd have to be really sure about you get that one time. Nobody wants to sit a year.
I agree with that, but at the same time, I think the reality is that won't hold up in court. And that's where this is all gone to. But what will hold up in court is the NFL model of you just make them sign contracts. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the bottom line. Like, we're going to pay. You want to be treated like pros, and that's just fine. Yeah. I'm for the kids making money. Like, if they can make the money, let them make the money. Universities, schools make a lot of money. Like, share it with them, right? They're the product on the field. No problem with that. But you got to sign a contract that says, hey, I'm on a 3-year deal, or I'm on a 4-year deal, or I'm on a 1-year renewable deal. Just so you want to be treated like a pro, then you're going to sign a contract like a pro.
Right. All right, all of that being said, and with the bowl game in the past, let's look forward a little bit with this program. What makes you most excited about Liberty football going into, because they do spring ball a little bit earlier, so what makes you most excited about the future of the Flames?
I mean, I think defensively they have an opportunity to be good. They're getting better and better. And so they've got some good pieces of the puzzle coming back on the defensive side of the football. I think you can rebuild. I think you got to get back to the thing. Offensively is Bill Durkin is a fantastic offensive line coach. So he took an offensive line at the beginning of the season. We were like, I don't know what we're going to be like. And they went back to who they were, and they started running the football again and got back to Jamie's true triple option offense and attacking the edges more. And so I think if they can once again put together a good offensive line, they're going to have good running backs. They've got to find a receiver that can take the top off. That's just the bottom line. It's like not having that guy this year it has made a big difference to be able to feel. Because what teams are doing is they just want to take away the explosive play. And Jamie said it. I think he said it on here or off air. Maybe he's like, hey, teams are going to make us grind it out. right? Right now, they're going to make us run the ball down the field and then hope we make a mistake at some point. But you got to find that receiver that can take the top off. And then obviously everything revolves around the quarterback position. It's like, who's that guy going to be? You know,
we're in a weird spot.
Right.
We are in a weird spot.
It feels like, and there was uncertainty going into that first year for Coach Chadwell, because you were trying to figure out who's the quarterback. Is it going to be Salter?
Which is crazy to think. What was it, Salter and JD?
Yeah. But it feels even more so now, because you felt like, okay, between the two of those guys, you feel like you got some options there. One of the two of those guys would be a solid candidate. We didn't know Salter would excel the way he did. Right now, you don't know. You don't know if
if you guys are betting men, is Ryan Berger your starting quarterback?
I know. I don't know. I don't know. And it's hard, and I want to say that too. It's very hard. You cannot judge him on that bowl game, and a lot of people will.
No.
It was an opportunity where, had he come out and just lit the world on fire, you feel like, whoa, okay, he's a clear-cut front runner, at least heading into the competition in the spring. That didn't happen, and there are a lot of reasons around him that made it difficult and make it probably impossible to judge him fairly on that. But I have no idea. That's the interesting part. But what I'll say is, I feel like Jamie Chadwell and this staff feel a lot more comfortable as that scrappy underdog people are almost writing off than they do the runaway favorite. They're going to go undefeated again and make the playoff. Like Chadwell and this staff, they still see themselves as, we're the D2 guys that just grind it out and worked our tail off to get to this point, and we'll find a way to get it done. Yeah. That's the way they view themselves. And that's the way I think this program, in a lot of ways, needs to view itself as well. Now, granted, of course, they have all the great amenities and all the facilities and all that stuff. They're not they're not the poor group in the conference. But they need to get back to that mentality. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what Coach Chadwell is at his core. And so I'm very interested to see the type of chip, the type of attitude, the type of competition we see in the spring with this group. How many positions, especially on the offensive side, can you say, well, this guy's got that locked down?
Really?
Yeah. Aaron Fenimore at center? Beyond that, what are we talking about? So I'm very interested to see the type of competition, who steps up, the type of attitude, the type of, okay, we got to prove it. Who wants to be, who are those guys that are like, this is my chance to prove it. This is our chance as a program to prove who we are. And I'm curious and excited to see what it looks like, even though there are a million question marks heading into the spring.
And just another reminder, Coach Chadwell and the staff has won everywhere that they've been. So there shouldn't be any panic buttons.
And we're saying all this after an 8-win season.
Yes.
And I know it didn't look good, and they would admit that as well. But you got 8 wins. That's not easy to do.
What you're saying is, if you want to pick out what was the problem with this team, because the expectations were very high, and you can't lose to Kennesaw State, right? You can't have an opportunity after all that to get back in the conference championship game and lose to Sam Houston State. You can't do that, right? And I think the biggest issue is exactly what you're talking about, Matt. Matt, is that there was an identity crisis with this football team this year, and so they've got what's one of the reasons why Jamie's been successful. All those things you're saying are right. Everything you're saying is right. However, it all goes back to the quarterback. He had Grayson McCall. Yeah. He had Willie Korn back at North Greenville. Yeah. He had Willie Korn back at North Greenville, right? Yeah. He's got Grayson McCall. You go back through Jamie's career, he's always gonna have a good quarterback. Yeah. And then he had Caden Salter, who lit it on fire his first year, right? So if all those things make sense and all those things are exactly right, and you have to figure out exactly what your identity is, but it all hinges on that one thing: who is going to be the guy behind center? And the interesting thing with Ryan, I don't think it is fair to Ryan what he did. I don't think he played well. Like he looked nervous. Yeah. He threw the ball nervously. He had a shot on the sidelines, or you got to go throw it low. Now he threw some high. But just looked nervous. But Jaden Bradford, that was a highly recruited quarterback out of IMG, right? And he's athletic. He fits the mold of the office. I'm interested to see, and I know he's been injured. Yeah. I'm interested to see what he can do. And then, but whatever it is, you got to find that guy, because that guy is the leader of your identity.
Yeah. And last, I don't know if there's anything further you want to go on this. I think we can all agree, whoever's in charge of growing grass in the Bahamas, that should have been their final bowl game, correct?
No, I don't think it's fair.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, that's not fair.
No, I don't think it's fair. And I don't think it's fair to rag on the people at the Bahamas Bowl about that, because they redid their stadium.
Yeah.
They had to plant the way it worked out. They had to plant the grass in November. Okay, and the field obviously wasn't in great shape because it hadn't taken yet. Right? You go back there next year, it's going to be a great field. The grass there is going to be beautiful in the Bahamas, right?
But they're like
but they're sliding all over the place. But I don't like the aspect of like, hey, Matt, hey Joe, why don't you come over? One of the Warners invited the Ox over to come over to their house for dinner. And then so we go over to the Warners for dinner and like, oh man, look at all the stains all over this carpet, right? And so then I go around and I take pictures of the stains look at the stains on the Warners carpet. I look at the stains on the Warners carpet and I went over to the Warners, but look at all the stains on their carpet. I don't like that one bit. You got an invitation to the Bahamas Bowl. They came out there, they invited you out there, they put you up in a great place in Atlanta, so you all these good things. Everybody had a great time, right? It was your invitation. You accept that invitation, right? You don't go. I don't think you need to rag on it.
I know, but the conditions still need to be.
I sprained my MCL watching them run on it. So
yeah, the conditions need to be.
I've never seen sand splash with every step.
That was part of the show.
That was
wild. That was part of the show.
It was an army of people, an army of Bahamians that were running on that field to fill in that grass and pat it down during every single timeout. It was unbelievable how many people were out there.
What are some of the other stories that you have from the Bahamas?
Oh, that's a great one.
Give me something good before we move on to
Joe was
basketball.
on the radio broadcast, by the way, for those that didn't know, which apparently this game almost happened with no one being able to see it outside of the stadium itself or hear it.
What?
Tell us that story.
Yeah. So we're getting ready to go live, right, on the air. It's like getting ready to do the pregame show. Yeah. And Stefan, there's no elevator there, right? The elevator didn't work. So Stefan,
the mile training did begin.
Yeah. So no. Stefan gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning to set up all the gear, right? So he's out there. He's got no elevator to work with, and he threw his back out, carting all the stuff up just to get it set up. The guy's a competitor. I'll give him that.
That's right.
Right. So Stefan gets there and he set up.
Out.
You know, it's a funny story.
Yeah.
Before we get to the other story, here's a funny story. So we come in, right? It's me, Alan. It's two funny stories back to back. Me, Alan, and Kyle, his wife. And so there's no elevator, so we got to go up the stairs. Well, Alan's got his big box of his pretty heavy, right? And he's walking in with it, and I'm walking behind it. So we get to the steps, and we look at the stadium steps. He had to walk all that stadium. He's got that box, and he's got his backpack over his shoulder right there. I said, Alan, is there anything I can help you with, right? And without, he looked at the steps, and he turned around, and he just handed the box right back to me. Didn't say, got it, buddy. So I thought that was funny. So I carried the box up for Alan. And then we're getting ready to go live, right? It's 5 minutes before we're going live, and all of a sudden, everything's set up, and everything's working perfect. Internet goes out. Wait, the internet just went out with us? The guy from Buffalo comes over, and he's like, hey, your internet out? Like, yeah, our internet. Like, we're getting ready to go live. Well, so are we. And then the ESPN people are like, hey, we don't have any internet. Like, we have no broadcast without an internet. And it is a mad, and like, oh my, and you can already tell, like, they just refurbished the place. Like, there was a lot of missing parts. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, the
internet's important.
Yeah, the internet's important. But by God, I'm going to promise you one thing that was working in the Bahamas, the speaker system worked great.
Oh, yeah?
They love the music in the Bahamas. They love the music. And I promise you this, that speaker system was top notch, and it was working great. Internet, different story. But so we...
Yeah, how are you streaming the music?
Joe texted me, and he's like, may not be a broadcast. We have no internet. No one can send anything out right now.
So they're scrambling around trying to figure out what's going on with the internet. And it's like, okay, what's going to happen? And all of a sudden, some guy pops his head around the corner. He's like, we're back. and what do you mean we're back? Yep, we figured it out. The Juice Man's truck was hooking up, the Bahamian Juice Man smoothie truck was hooking up to his generator, unplugged the internet, plugged in his generator, and we got juice and smoothies, but we had no internet. So we're moving the Juice Man down a block, and we're plugging the internet back in.
Yeah.
The Juice Man.
The Juice Man took down the entire stadium internet, but we're back.
We didn't have that problem at the Fiesta Bowl.
The Juice Man's juice truck unplugged the internet.
Oh my gosh, smoothies for everyone.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
That's hilarious. Can you imagine being that guy?
Hey, Ma,
what's up, Ma?
I'm just trying to make the juice. I looked at Alan. I said, smoothies for everybody.
Yeah. That's incredible. Well, It was an experience. Glad you got to go. Thanks to all the Flames fans who went out and made the trip.
Joe should win some award for having called the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, which was not great for the Tar Heels, and then the Bahamas Bowl. You were
Bahamas. Your
point differential is not good.
I know Atlantis is sponsoring the Bahamas Bowl, but maybe the juice smoothie guy can get in as powered by the juice smoothie guy.
Those were two rough ones to call.
Yeah, but Joe needs to go back to Boston. I have a whole list.
Boston's great.
It's a great city. Great city. All right, let's move on to some hoops. Men's and women's basketball, like I said, started conference play. Matt and I weren't on the call with Naz, but Matt was close enough there running the
I was handing stats to the broadcasters.
Yeah. So let's start with that January 2nd game against Western Kentucky. Looked really good. I forgot the lead.
Led by as many as 16.
Yeah. And then once they started chipping away, I was like, this isn't good. This isn't good. The Flames ended up dropping that game by 1 point. I asked Coach McKay, because we were doing an interview with Zach Cleveland's parents. And, Kane Matheny just nailed that deep three to make it, what was that, like a 2-point game at that point? I can't remember.
Got down to 1.
Yeah, got down to 1 or something, or maybe leading by 1. I'm not sure. But then Taylor Peter gets the steal and then kicks it out to
great look.
To Kane.
Good look, didn't he?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, did Taylor make the right decision? And he was like, or should he have just drove to the basket, finished it out? And I don't know, he said he made the right decision. Yeah.
So of course,
McKay's backing his guy. Again, if Matheny would have hit that three.
You'll take your chances.
Yes,
you're one of the best 3-point shooters in the country.
Right.
Open look.
Right.
Yeah. That's one that,
so that was a
you're
heartbreaker.
Just kicking yourself over. You gave it away. They missed free throws throughout the game, but especially down the stretch. Second half, they had turned it over 1 time in the first half, turned it over 8 times in the second half, got really sloppy to let them back into it. And so that was a frustrating one, and one that kind of pointed to some of the issues that we feared with this team, free throw shooting being a big one. And also something that I think now that they've announced Isaiah Enan is out for the season.
Not good.
That also highlights another issue, which is now the depth of this team. Because you have basically Taylor Peter off the bench, and that's kind of it. And so figuring out how you steal some minutes and get guys rest with guys that maybe Richie's not even totally comfortable throwing out there in another situation. So like in that game, you saw Curtis Blair, Brett Decker play I think it was 2 minutes. And then in the next game against Middle Tennessee, it actually was 2 minutes from Decker and Curtis combined in that game. And then in Middle Tennessee, you end up getting 9 minutes from Gabriel McKay, Xander Yates. Right now, Liberty has 3 of the top 7 players in minutes played through the 2 Conference USA games. Matheny 3rd, Porter 4th, Aquino 7th. So that's going to be, for me, the goal moving forward, or something to watch moving forward. How can you keep those guys from being just completely worn down when you get to the end of the year, when you get to the tournament and you need them to be fresh? They may have to give more minutes to guys that you don't necessarily feel are ready for the grind, the whatever the level of play that you're going to see in conference the rest of the way. You may just have to say, we're just going to have to take some lumps here for 4 or 5 minutes in the first half and just make sure we give these guys a chance to be fresh. Because if not, you're going to wear down those 6.
Yeah.
And that's where losing Enan hurts a ton.
It does.
Where did Western Kentucky rank in the preseason? Were they pretty?
They were pretty high. Remember, they were the last.
It's a weird conference,
but
though.
Here's the thing.
I mean,
I'm glad you said that. So they go,
insane.
they beat us, then they go on the road to FIU. FIU, everyone would tell you, worst team in the conference, you would think, and they go on the road to FIU and lose by 19.
No way.
In a game that they were never close. Meanwhile, Louisiana Tech, the far and away favorite to win this league, they lose their first game in a tough one and then go to New Mexico State, who's near the bottom of the league, and lose by 30. And so they're 0-2 to start the league.
Yeah.
So, it's
and then
just
Middle
chaos.
Tennessee had something similar too, and then, come to Liberty, and the Flames beat Middle Tennessee by 10.
Last year, home court was a huge deal in this league, and part of that I think is the travel and the difficulty of it.
Trips,
but that may be the case again. All that to say, everybody's just going to beat up on each other, and I mean, I don't know. This league is just like, who knows? One day to the next, anybody could beat anybody else.
What gives you the confidence that Coach McKay and this staff will figure out this depth issue early?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually curious.
He's not confident.
No. Well, I'm
kidding.
I'm curious to see how he handles it and who, because he changed completely in the two conference games. Even the guys he brought off the bench, like Decker and Curtis Blair, didn't play at all in the second one. They were the only ones that played in the first one. So I'm curious to see how he approaches that. I'll say this. One thing that's nice is knowing that I think Liberty's 6 are as good or better than anybody else's 6.
Right.
So that's going to give you the opportunity.
But then what's that drop off?
Right. So it's just making sure that they can finish games. That's what I'm concerned about. And that's where I think you'll see in the first half of games where Richie tries to buy them a few minutes here and there. And some of that's even being really creative in terms of like winning games. So you're watching the TV timeouts, right? And you're like, okay, we have a chance to sub in for a Matheny at 8:45 on the clock because we know then you got the TV timeout at the under 8. And so you're being really strategic in terms of when you're substituting just to buy them a little extra, maybe not minutes on the clock, but real time of rest. So a lot of that kind of stuff I think you're going to see as well, just trying to keep his team as fresh as he can. But it's going to be a grind. I mean, it would have been even with Enan, but this team, it looks different without him. That's a huge, huge loss.
Yeah, but when I ran into Coach McCann Friday, he goes, Emily, we're going to be just fine. So one thing you can always count on is Coach McKay believes in his guys, and they're going to be will figure it out. And like we just mentioned, this conference is up in the air. Basketball is just so different. I mean, obviously regular season matters. Every conference game matters, but really doesn't really matter until that tournament later in the year.
How many minutes is Xander Yates getting off the bench?
Not a lot. Not a lot. Not a lot. Okay. So he's a guy that I think you could, because he's a bigger body, so you could potentially, and they even did that in the Middle Tennessee game, which Liberty won by 10. They put him in, matched him up for a little bit on their big guy, just to try to buy a few minutes there. Obviously, he can shoot the 3 well, so he brings that to the table. But yeah, for me, the bigger issue, because you can play Aquino by himself for a while. You can play Cleveland by himself for a while. The bigger question for me is Matheny and Porter. Those guys are they're going up against bigger physical guards night after night. Like, you can't get those guys worn down.
They're covering a lot of miles.
So you've got to kind of say, all right, Brett Decker, you're a freshman. I know maybe this is a little, you're struggling here, but we got to get some time. We got to. Gabriel McKay was 5 good defensive minutes against Middle Tennessee. You're going to have to use him maybe a little bit. So, those are the guys I worry about more than anybody else, is those 2 guards.
I'd rather have the best 6 than the average 8.
Absolutely.
If you're coaching.
That's a great point, Joey Yak. All right. Well, do you have any stories from your snow day yesterday? Because we
now you're trying to pick on me a little bit. You know the story.
She knows what she's doing.
Okay, so
we get this message, this video from Joe Yock. I love what Matt points out first. Is the heavy breathing.
That was before the crash.
See? Yeah. Because when we get a snow day, Matt forwards the email from LU, like VDOT, whatever, saying that the university is going to be closed. But then he comments at the top, hey guys, just remember you have to work from home on whatever is on your hard drive. We don't get to go to Wintergreen.
He runs a tight ship.
And go, it's just
So
miserable.
I went up to Wintergreen, okay, and I'm teaching my son Reese I'm not teaching him, I ski, he snowboards. So he's learning how to snowboard. And so Reese he's starting to get pretty good, right? And so we go up there one day, and I Yachtalk's pretty good on skis, I can't lie. And and so I'm videotaping, poles in this hand, and I'm videotaping. So I do this the first time we go up, and all this, Dina, send me videos. So I'm sending videos. Well, then we go up, it snowed a bunch, right? And so now it's a much dicier, okay? What?
While he's explaining.
So it's much.
Doug, can I get over here and zoom in?
So it's much dicier. And so Dina kept sending me videos. Film. I hadn't filmed. Last run of the day, I decided to film. And I'm like,
it's always the last run of the day.
Yeah, look at Reese going. I'm like, this is a little dicey.
I'm videoing you, Reese.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, and then
get ready.
Get ready for the yard
Reese.
sale.
For those of you
Reese,
listening.
those turns.
Even if you're not watching, you're just listening, I think you got the point there. The crash. My
Yard
favorite part.
sale.
Yeah, my favorite part was you see the camera turn and you just see this trail of equipment behind him. That's my favorite part. You see it all laid out.
Hey, this is no joke. A Yak Talk hurt his hip. He has an elderly hip, and he hurt his hip. And then so last night I get home.
We're never getting him in this.
The St. Bernard came and dug you out.
St. Bernard comes, digs me out. They drag me back up the hill. And I get home last night, and I come through the door, and Dina's sitting on the couch, and she's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Oh." And I'm moaning and groaning. So then I come back downstairs and I get settled in, comfortable, right? She knows I'm like hobbling down the stairs. She's like, "Oh, I'm listening, moaning and groaning." And she let the dogs out, right? So then
Who let the dogs out?
Dina let the dogs out. Dina let the dogs out. And so then the dogs, and she's sitting on the couch over here, I'm sitting over here, and the dogs come scratching on the door. And she's like, "Let the dogs in." I'm like, "What?"
No sympathy
I'm like,
whatsoever.
"No sympathy."
Good.
I'm like, "What? I mean, you get. No, you let the dogs in." And me getting up to try to let the dogs in. Oh, it was bad.
You just put on a show.
Oh, it's an
Yeah.
But my elderly hip, now I know how the elderly feel when they fall and hurt their hip.
Yeah.
And so my elderly hip is very sore. It's not good.
Oh gosh.
Emily's yawning. That's our
I'm
cue.
sorry.
That's our
Yeah.
cue.
Hey, if you're elderly and maybe you're wanting to downsize from a home with a staircase to just a nice ranch where you can age gracefully, Joe, how could you help them with that?
Well, you know, Liberty was founded in 1976, 1. So 71. 1971, I believe. And so some of their alumni,
Right.
they're getting up there in age,
Sure.
right? And they may be looking at downsize, but if you're alumni, employee, staff, go to alcova.com/Liberty, and you can receive up to 1% discount on your closing costs up to $5,000, 1% of your loan amount. So, take advantage of that because you know why, Matt?
Why?
Emily, let me tell you why. Because it's almost
Too easy.
too easy.
Hey, I won't be here next week. I worked a half day today, and then I'm just.
Which country are we going to?
Yeah,
Mexico.
That's good.
I
You didn't even
I
know.
didn't even know. And I said, she's got to be going to a country. Yeah, what country are you going to?
So I forgive these guys for whatever happens next week, I guess.
You and me, man. That's right.
Yeah, whatever. If you don't want to watch or listen, I completely understand.
I don't know if I know how to post the show, so that's your job.
Oh yeah,
so,
who's the last?
Yeah, I may need you to do that from next week.
I
Do you have
actually
internet?
can.
Do you have internet
I can.
capabilities?
I mean,
Okay,
it
good.
depends if there's a smoothie guy there.
Yeah, those are the juice man.
Juice man. Is that it, guys?
Just last thing I would say.
Oh wait, Flames Fantasy, the final.
Oh, right. I'm glad you brought that up.
Did we?
You'll remember.
Did you do actually
You'll remember that Joe said we
Quadruple.
could have quadruple the points.
There's no way.
Turns out it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Wait, where's our trophy?
Quadruple points and you still lost.
Oh my
And
god.
Someone
that's
stole the trophy.
and folks, that's when you know
Continue. I'm
it was
looking
a
for the-
bad game.
It was a bad game. Obviously, we all had lots of players that didn't play. We hadn't updated our rosters. In terms of just normal scoring, Joe finished with 412.5 points. I finished with 300 points. Emily, 260.
Wow, the worst year.
Total
you know what?
domination.
It was
I know we
total
said
domination.
something similar to this last
Domination
year,
Yeah.
station.
but for real, next year is going to be so interesting on like who it's going to be
Right.
such a different team.
Yeah. I mean,
there's gonna be sleeper picks next
if
year.
you had
Sleeper
to,
picks.
okay, let's just do this real fast. If you had the first pick right today, right
Well,
now,
I do have the
Wow.
first pick.
right,
Oh,
who would that person be?
I know who it would be.
Who would you pick?
Me?
Yeah.
Von Blue.
Billy Lucas.
No, he's gone.
He's gone.
Billy's gone?
Yeah.
You don't even know
Yeah.
who's on
Oh,
our
no,
He's
team.
a
no.
senior. No, he's done.
I didn't realize he was gone.
Yeah, he's done. So,
You didn't see his post? I'm
did he?
kidding.
No, huh?
I'm just joking.
Poor guy. I felt bad for him because I think he got hurt there during that game. After he popped the run, a couple runs later, he came out. So,
I met his parents.
yeah,
Yeah, real nice people.
yeah, great.
Charleston, South
I
Carolina.
love
Great
Billy,
guy.
yeah.
He was awesome.
guy.
I loved him.
He was a great.
But yeah, that just all that to say,
I don't know.
that's a big decision.
I don't know. I mean,
know?
maybe I'm going defense.
I mean, who
No,
knows?
all I
it's-
know
it's-
is next season I'm picking a running back.
It's going to be a big name transfer running back. That's what it's going to be
Yeah.
most likely.
Or that
I'm
freshman.
going to tell you what, Caden
Oh,
Malachi?
Williams.
Caden Williams.
Caden Williams.
Oh yeah, Mal Fannin Rinder, the everything true freshman running back coming in is a stud. That could be.
Caden Williams is shifty.
Yeah, Williams.
We'll see. It'll be something that Flames Central podcast fans will
Research
look forward
starts
to.
today.
Research starts today. I'm doing it for Mexico tomorrow.
Yes.
For Joe and Matt, you're gonna take that.
He's gonna take that home.
You're looking a little comfortable with that trophy.
Let's go in the office.
That's right.
Yeah. So we need to have something on the side that says Joe Yock,
like a piece of duct tape or something.
Yeah, piece of duct tape.
Yeah, let's go in the office.
Like I said, thanks for listening and watching. I'm Emily. We'll see you back here next week.